Welcome, everyone. My name is Alan Demers, and I'm happy to announce today's webinar, Deliver Empathy at Scale, Virtual Claims Handling as the Future of Efficient Customer-Centric Claims. Thank you for attending today. I think we have everyone in different time zones covered, so it's morning for most people, maybe afternoon for some others. Glad you could make it today, and this is a fun topic. When I first heard about it, I was excited because I see the importance of where we're headed as a claims handling industry through automation and self-service, and then really trying to find that balance of what happens from a human standpoint and the empathy itself. So again, my name's Alan Demers. Here's how we're going to follow today's format. I'll first start with a panel introduction. Each member will have a few things to say about themselves, and we have an outstanding panel here today. Then I'll give a quick overview about the topic itself, and then each panelist is going to talk for a few minutes and share their views and ideas on empathy at scale, and then we'll get into Q&A. And we ask that throughout this session today, feel free to type in and share your questions, and we'll try to get to all of them the best we can. So without further ado, we're going to go right into the introductions, and we'll start with Lori. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Lori may be on mute.
Hi, how are you, Alan?
Lori, how are you? Welcome. Tell us about yourself.
I'm really excited to speak on the topic today. I lead our claim transformation and claim system technology initiatives at the Auto Club Group, as well as our First Notice of Loss contact center and a quick claim home and auto adjusting unit. I have over 25 years of experience in property and casualty insurance to include underwriting, sales, and claim process improvement.
Welcome, Lori. That's outstanding. You're right where it all happens, so we're going to be really interested to hear what you have to say. Next, Bill.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bill Brower. I'm Vice President Auto Claims at LexisNexis Risk Solutions. I lead the claims initiatives at LexisNexis. Been with Lexis for just over 4 years. Prior to that, spent a little more than 30 years on the insurance carrier side with a couple of top 5 carriers. So great to be with you, and look forward to the topic.
Thanks, Bill. We're looking for your broad view. Glad you could join us today. Samantha.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Sam Santiago. I am head of claim strategy and automation here at Farmers Insurance. I joined Farmers in 2017 and recently joined the claims team in 2019. So in my role, I have a responsibility for developing an overarching claim strategy across all of our lines of businesses, as well as a clear focus on automation. And in my role, I lead a team of folks in advanced analytics, digital transformation, and emerging trends. I have nearly 20 years of experience, not all in insurance, actually. So my journey has included working at several companies, including Liberty Mutual in the past. But I've had significant experience in strategy deployment, digital transformation, lean and process improvement. So I'm really excited to join today and kind of share our experience.
Great. And if a topic ever needed strategy, you're the person we need. So thanks for joining us. And Mike Fiato, last but not least, tell us about yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Alan. Mike Fiato. I am the Chief Claims Officer at Liberty Mutual for our global retail markets, which means personal lines and small commercial for the U.S. I am fast approaching my 29th year in the auto, home, commercial claims arena, which just means I've made more mistakes than most people have.
Welcome, Mike. That's great. So a little bit about myself. My name again, Alan Demers, a founder and president of InsurTech Consulting, which just means I'm a consultant after about 25 plus years working for 2 top 10 insurance companies, all in the claims space. So I've had different experiences in leadership for personal and commercial and specialty lines, and then spent a couple years starting up and leading innovation for my previous company. So I've taken that starting last year and focused on the InsurTech space, where I help startups, and I'm really still passionate about innovating claims and the future that lies ahead. So let's get right into the topic. I think it's good to start off with what the definition of empathy was and is. So it's defined as the ability to understand the feelings of another. And I think we can all context that to a claim handling, which may be described as anticipating needs and delivering on them. And then along with truly understanding what the customer's situation is. In other words, a walk in their shoes. And so there's a lot of ways that companies do that and do it fairly effectively. And certainly today's adjuster is well equipped to try to do that, to really put their customers at ease and give them a good process and outcome. Today's landscape, however, is really competitive. We all know that the high customer acquisition costs, retention costs, and lots of pressure on loss adjustment expense, or LAE. And so the hot word there is efficiency. Net Promoter Score has grown in importance throughout the claim industry because the claim experience has direct influence on customer retention. It is the moment of truth, after all. One example of where empathy is expressed and customer expectations are high is at loss intake, or FNOL. Simple techniques such as expressing, "Is everyone okay?" That can go a long way. In fact, at least one of the top 10 insurance company advertises around that theme, where the customer is just glowing about the fact that the insurance company asked if the daughter was okay in the auto accident. So where's the industry headed? You know, there's really this massive emergence of new technology, investments, and disruptive entrants, all of which adds up to equal the term that we call InsurTech. Consumer demand, meanwhile, for digital, mobile, ease and access, and overall efficiency has increased, and consumers today do expect to have experiences like they do with other digital and mobile things that they do throughout their daily life. Claims automation efforts, meanwhile, are really ramping up. Most companies are trying to figure out how they can deliver more self-service, more touchless and straight through claim processing ways of really invigorating their claim model. But yet there's this intersection ahead, because there's a lot of concern over the degree of automation versus human touch, consumer adoption and omni-channel support issues, and then really the role of the adjuster and how the changing talent demand is going to evolve over the next few years. So with that, I want to have Bill Brower talk next and give us a little bit closer view of what's happened in the industry and where it's headed at a detailed level. Bill?
Thanks, Alan, and great to be a part of the panel today. So yeah, let's take a moment. If we can move to the next slide, I'd like to take a moment and just level set on the common claims processes for handling, let's say, auto physical damage claims today, and also an emerging process that we believe is coming soon called touchless claims. So I'll walk through this slide quickly, but as you begin with traditional claims, many of us that have been in the industry a long time began with traditional claims handling. The adjuster goes out to the car or the home, handles the claim, of course. In the 1990s, we saw this move to fast track. Well, actually, fast track is the term that we use at LexisNexis. What we're really talking about, when we talk about fast track, are claims that are handled with the help of like a body shop, like an auto direct repair program, where the body shop, the customer doesn't have to wait on the adjuster to go to the body shop. They go to the body shop, as we know, and the shop becomes sort of the appraiser as well as the repair company. Again, that started in the 90s. It continues today, continues to grow, and I find insurance companies continuing to add value with fast track processes. So that was in the 1990s. So that brings us up to virtual claims. Virtual claims, and I know we're familiar, we see some of the TV ads. Virtual claims is the opportunity for a customer, perhaps, to take pictures of their damaged vehicle, maybe even at the accident scene, and have that sent directly to their insurance company, where they would in turn receive an appraisal and maybe even electronic payment for that claim. This process is pretty interesting. To me, virtual has been very exciting. It started back around 2013 with the very early versions of this. but it grew dramatically starting around 2017 and for the next 3 years. More and more companies began to move in this direction, and customers seem to really like it. In fact, at LexisNexis, we do a study every other year. It's called Future of Claims. The last one we did was last year, and when we surveyed industry executives, claims executives, what we learned was that 95% of insurance executives surveyed said that they're either using virtual claims today or moving to virtual claims in the near future. So if we step back a moment, we said, well, you know, I remember, like for me in my career, when I began, it was traditional. We didn't have these other options. Technology allowed us to get to fast track, where we could begin to share digital images and find a way to partner with body shops in a way that carriers were comfortable and body shops were comfortable handling claims electronically. Now we've moved to virtual claims where we're doing something like that with the customer being in charge with their smartphone. So the next logical step seems to be touchless claims. And what we're talking about there is really just simply leveraging the data and technology available today that allows customers who are interested. Everyone will not want a touchless claims experience, but those that want to have that digital experience would allow them, with a few clicks from their phone, to report and have updates and, you know, shop selections, whatever needs to take place in the claim, do it all with a few clicks on the phone, and have this system driven so that it could be completely end-to-end touchless. Now, you might say, touchless, that doesn't feel like that shows much empathy. So what we're expecting is, in the early days of touchless claims, is that carriers will still want to have a touch point with the customer. They'll likely still call them at some point in the process, if nothing more than to have a good conversation, find out how the digital experience is going. But if you think about it, something else that we've learned in these studies is that, you know, today we still have, many companies tell us, 3 or more people touching the average claim. So even if you get to this point where the data can be collected, the work to get a claim moving can be done electronically. If you can get to the point where maybe just one person's involved in the claim, that would certainly be an improvement in many operations, and certainly that's what the customer tends to want. They don't want to have to call multiple people. The other thing as we think about touchless claims, and why I'm really excited about that being the next phase for us, or next process, is that, you know, the millennials and the Gen Z generation growing rapidly, those generations tend to prefer digital communications. And so in our survey, we found that there was high interest in digital claims processing by millennials and Gen Zs. The only caveat to that, I would say, is that they did say they wanted an option to talk with a person if they got stuck in the process, which certainly makes sense. The last thing about this one, in our survey, we found that 79% of the senior executives across the insurance industry, when we shared what touchless claims was about, were interested in learning more about this and perhaps pursuing this. So the next question you might have is, okay, Bill, well, that sounds good. How do we get there? So if we could go to the next slide. We at LexisNexis, we've been working on, I think the slide is not advancing. There it is. So at LexisNexis, we have been working on what we call the road to touchless claims. And basically, we've been stepping back and saying, well, you know, if touchless claims is sort of that North Star, that place that we're aspiring to get to at some point in the future, how do we get there? And what does it take, particularly from a data standpoint? So what we've created, our team over the last year has created this scale, if you will, or levels, to identify where the insurance carriers are, and we work with almost every insurance carrier in the US, where the carriers are in terms of their level of data sophistication. So time doesn't permit me to go through all of these, so I'm just going to quickly summarize. A level 1 or 2, those are companies that tend to be what we call more basic in terms of their level of data sophistication. What that means is they may be going to a portal to get information, a report that they need to provide certain information to handle a claim, but it means going outside of their claim system to a web portal of some sort probably pulling a PDF report and then searching through that report to find that data, that piece of information that they need, and then they may type it into their claim system. It's getting the job done, it's getting the information, but it's not the level you need to really be at a very automated state. If you move up the scale, you'll see levels 4 and level 5. Those two levels they have integrated data directly into their claim system. And so when they're maybe taking a first notice loss, they may put in something like a license plate, and then suddenly all the information for the party that owns that vehicle is populated in the claim system. It just happens immediately, there's no delay. We see that as the future. Our clients, many of our clients are in the level 4 today. We have one, maybe two that could be in level 5 before the end of the year. And so you might ask, what's the difference between a 4 and a 5? They're both getting real-time data, not only at the first notice loss, but throughout the claim process where that data is needed. They're both getting the real-time data. The difference between a 4 and a 5 is the level 4 carrier has an adjuster or a claims person pushing a button to bring that data in. It comes in a couple seconds, but they push a button. The level 5 carrier has experienced this to the point that they're now moving to full automation, and they're building rules within their system so that no one has to push a button. The data will come in and populate the system, and therefore more of these automated decisions could be made that would allow you to process a claim electronically without a human being involved at that process. So if you think about it, the 4s and 5s, their focus is really on having a more informed engagement early when they're interacting with their customer, so that their discussions are around how the customer's doing, any concerns they have, not around a data collection. So Alan, this is a quick overview, but I think when you think about the touchless claims or claims automation, it's really about building that level of data sophistication that the information that is going to be needed to process the claim can be delivered into the claim system automatically, and then that would enable us to get to a future touchless claim state.
Thanks, Bill. I think that's an outstanding overview, and there's a lot that you shared in there that we'll circle back with some of the questions. Let's move over to Mike Fiato. I know he wants to talk about striking the balance, among other things. So, Mike, I'd like to get your input on this.
Sure. I generally, when I think about these types of problems, I start with a couple of kind of foundational statements. One of them being that the customer always wins. They might not win right away, but ultimately what the customer wants from us, given the competitive environment we're in, they tend to get over time. The second one is, as a claims organization, we're expected to build competitive advantage. Given the industry we work in, we have to eke out those operational or execution-based opportunities versus our peers. The third one is we spend about 70 cents, give or take, of every dollar. So surprisingly, our organizations probably expect us to reduce costs year over year. And then lastly, I try to keep in the front of my mind this concept of frequency and severity. So oftentimes we think about this inside out. So we think about what can we do to accomplish those first few things. But we need to remember that most of our customers don't get in accidents every day. So very low frequency means that the accident itself, regardless of whether it's serious or complicated or routine from our perspective, is going to have a certain amount of severity for that customer. So I have to remind myself all the time not to fall into that trap of thinking that we know. And so the balance for me always becomes, I know what my company wants from me. I know what we're trying to accomplish. But then I have to remember that customers want options, customers want to change their minds, and customers want help. I think texting is a great example of this. We were able to introduce and implement texting for the last year or two. And that's a win-win because it gives customers an option because they want options. It makes our claims reps more efficient. The phone rings substantially less, and we're able to drive down cycle time dramatically by using that medium. What I love about it is you can actually still continue to build trust through things like texting because we're deliberate and purposeful. So the words we use matter. And if you can build trust and provide peace of mind, and the claim does not require face-to-face or phone-to-phone contact, you can create an experience that the customer is wowed by or satisfied with, and still accomplish the goals that you want. So, I think those opportunities are out there, but I think we've got to be really thoughtful and purposeful about how we use them. I think the hard part around trying to strike balance, as well, is the fact that in some respects, I think delivering empathy, even at scale, not at scale, is actually more complex than it used to be, because of the options we offer, because our customers want to move in and out, because our claims professionals tend to become exceptional through in a very short period of time on the phone, understanding who a customer is and how to best serve them. Don't get that opportunity with all of their customers anymore. And so it becomes harder to figure out how to be effective at times. And then when we do talk with our customers face to face, those interactions tend to be at a base level much more complex because customers actually need our help. So, and then lastly, I think we think about internal balance in our own organizations generally. We tend to look inside, but I also worry at times that it's actually only better if we can execute as an industry, because the best of us and the worst of us often get spillover, right, from both of those sides, and we are judged often as an industry, not as individuals.
Yeah, really excellent points, Mike. I like the fact that you remind yourself that we may not have all the answers, and it really comes down to what that customer wants and constantly trying to figure that out. Let's move over to Lori. I think she's going to give us a broad view of the 3 Ps. So go ahead, Lori.
Thank you. I'm going to approach the power of empathy, as you just said, and also artificial intelligence through the use of the 3 Ps, being prevention, people, and partnerships. So how can we leverage technology to demonstrate empathy, meaningful empathy, and deliver exceptional claim service? Alan, you discussed the importance of anticipating customer needs. We're all familiar with the traditional displays of empathy when speaking voice to voice to our customers during a claim, but imagine how transformative and impactful it would be to actually anticipate customer needs before a loss occurs, as well as throughout the claim lifecycle. So the first P we're going to examine is the power of prevention. So what do I mean by the power of prevention? No matter how outstanding our claim service delivery is, a claim always disrupts our customer's life. So as a consumer, how important would it be for your insurance company to actually alert you in advance of danger? How can we leverage technology as well as predictive analytics to help prevent or significantly lessen the severity of a claim? As I look across the technology landscape in claims, there's a lot of proactive steps that we can take to leverage the power of AI, data science, and innovative solutions to better protect our customers and demonstrate empathy just in time. A couple of examples that I've seen include the advent of smart home technology, the connected car. These 2 technologies really open up new opportunities for us to send alerts to our insured of an issue with their property, basically in real time for them to take immediate action. Using AI to push notifications via SMS, email, phone to keep our customers updated on claim status at critical milestones, or warn of severe weather events so that our customers can protect themselves, their family, and their property. Using telematics to give insights on driving behavior behind the wheel, especially for young drivers, is a game changer. I think that's where you really see the power of prevention being super impactful, alerting our customers to take action to avoid or reduce the impact of a loss. This benefits both our insured and our company. Avoiding the loss, how much better can you get than that? So let's explore the power of people. That's our second P. There's power in your staff's ability to understand how to tailor interactions to exceed customer expectations. How do you make it easy for your staff to show empathy by focusing on the customer and not the process? We can hear when adjusters are focused on the process. The first thing you've got to do is arm your staff with the right toolkit. So what's in that toolkit? It starts with best-in-class tools designed with the end user in mind, both the customer and your adjuster. This means the right mix of people, process, and technology that allows you to meet your customers where they want to be met, how they want to be met. Identifying these expectations must begin at policy inception so that your staff is aimed with the information they need to better personalize the claim experience based on the customer's preference. Claims is the most critical moment of truth in the insurance lifecycle. You do not have a second chance to make that first impression. Another powerful tool that we use is voice of the customer as well as voice of the employee. Providing opportunities for internal and external customers to tell you how you're doing provides critical insights into satisfaction as well as friction in the process. Employing AI to nudge your customer and staff to take action can actually lead to transformational results and better overall CSAT. Happier employees deliver better service, amazing claim experiences, create customers for life. As you said, empathetic service means putting ourselves in our customers' shoes by knowing when as well as how to keep them best informed. So how do you more effectively predict the right time to reach out? It's important to strike that right balance between AI and human touch to deliver an amazing experience. Well, let's talk about AI and data analytics. How can that help you create customer profiles that allow you to customize the claim experience? Some examples include prompting customers to take action to move the claim forward. You mentioned texting. We employ that as well. Alerting the adjuster using business rules events. You need to touch this file. When we do diary, there are a lot of claims that we see where adjusters need to touch the file. Using AI to tell us better when to target our coaching and feedback is really next level. Engaging management in this process is also important. Triaging claims to the right path the first time, whether it be no touch, low touch, or high touch. We all know that customers having to repeat their story absolutely tanks NPS. So that brings me to the last P, the power of partnership. So how do we use the power of partnership to strike that right balance between AI and ensuring an engaging and empathetic claim experience? We're all familiar with the old saying, it's really hard to see the forest for the trees. So this is where you engage the experts, innovators, and industry thought leaders to help you define the best approach amid a myriad of different alternatives out there in the claim ecosystem. There are disruptors that can inspire you to think outside of the box, incorporate innovative ideas and solutions that deliver exceptional claim outcomes. I really encourage you to partner with insurtechs, fintechs, AI service providers, and other technologists to help you with your design sessions that really challenge you to think outside of the box. These technologists encourage us to raise the bar on our service delivery. Remember, your insureds do not compare you to your competitors. Really, they compare you to those big industry disruptors like Amazon and Apple as best-in-class customer service. So you got to figure out what's your secret sauce. Amongst the plethora of technologies in the market, what makes sense for your organization? What is the best fit for your employees and your customers? The best partners help you carve out that path to define what your to-be should be and what technologies can help you deliver empathetic and impactful service. I will leave you with this thought. It's not about low touch or high touch. It's about the right touch.
Well said, Lori. And before I go to our last panelist, and thanks Sam for her patience, audience, now's a good time to start typing in those questions and sharing them with us so we can make sure we have plenty of time to get to them. Now, Sam, again, thanks for your patience going last. I know how that can be, but we're really glad to have you here as well and love you to weigh in on the topic as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. So there's no laughs. There's just a series of really amazing people on this panel. So really excited to share my thoughts. So as we think through delivering empathy at scale, here, I think it's really important. And we were talking about this even before the webinar started that, many times customers are interacting with us on their worst days because something has happened to their homes, their cars, their belongings. But I think that as we keep talking about, customer, I think what's really important as we're delivering empathy is really thinking who the customer is, right? So customers are parents, they're professionals, they are students, they are a whole variety of different backgrounds. And the truth is that over time, their expectations are shifting, right? And as they're interacting with us, the biggest part of delivering empathy is about providing choice and being there and looking at ways to improve overall response times, being able to, whether it's in person, through the text, or on video, or however we choose to interact with them, is being there for them in their moment of need. And I think that as claims professionals, that's really the call that we all have to serve. How we do it may look and feel just a little bit different. But some of the ways that Farmers is really doing it today is, as we're exploring and implementing new technologies and emerging technologies, we're constantly keeping our customers at the forefront of our thought, and we're committed to our values of exceeding our customers' expectations. So some of the ways that we're exploring new technologies could be ways that we're actually using things like virtual reality to actually rapidly train our claims adjusters to assist our customers. As we found with virtual reality, it gives us the ability to leverage the thoughts and practice there, and really using that as a training tool to constantly get better at how are we delivering the message, how are we showing up, and how are we more consistent in our message. We're also deploying aerial imagery and drones to help expedite the claims processing on the back end. Other things that we're doing is really just also leveraging technology that's already in the customer's hand. Things like within our Farmers app. We have a photo estimating app that's now embedded there to, again, put choice in their hands of how they want to interact with us. Because at the end of the day, that's really the call to action, is providing the most amount of options for our customers, the right options at the right time, but always knowing that our Farmers brand is there to exceed their expectations in every single interaction that we go through. And finally, the other cool thing is we operate our own innovation lab. So one of the things that is really important to us is, how do we come up with all of this technology? How do we test it? How do we know it's right? Well, in our own innovation lab, we bring together customer-centric thinking, game-changing technology, and it really helps improve the organization because we really value diversity of thought, not only from what we may think from the claim side, but how are other parts of the business interacting with our customers? How do we bring the customers in to hear their voices as we're deploying? So I think really all of those things coupled together are important as we start to not just think of empathy, because that is obviously, where we are here to serve, and that's a core belief, but really it's about providing that consistent and amazing service any which way we interact, and by giving our customers the choice that they need to interact with us, because as you all know, we all have very busy lives and we want to be able to have that choice. So those are just some of the ways that Farmers is thinking about that.
Thank you, Sam. That's fantastic. So let's now switch over to some of the questions and really take this up a notch. So let's start with Lori. And Lori, maybe you could weigh in and tell us what you think is working well so far on things that are being automated where there may be good empathy in the process.
Well, we just recently implemented our mobile application, and we've been indexing our stat with our telephonic FNOL, as well as our web and our new app, and we're seeing really great gains. This has been implemented since July of last year. We didn't boil the ocean. We implemented an MVP where learn and iterate, fail fast, recover quickly. So it's that we've received really great feedback, and we're watching those markers and seeing how we can change and edit our applications to really drive better service. So it's been a great success. One of the other things that we do is we put our technology in front of our customers before we implement it, And that's really a game changer because they can give you some great insights before you productionize it and it's released to your entire customer profile. So that's really helped.
Fantastic. So maybe let's take the flip side of that, and I'll put Sam on the hot seat here and just say, maybe the opposite of that. What so far has been automated that may not be working so well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like with everything, technology kind of goes in waves. So I would say, we are constantly having to respond to changing customer expectations. So as we are automating different parts of our processes, we're constantly getting customer feedback as to what's working and what's not working. So we recently launched, a different app of our photo estimating, and I think overwhelmingly we've had really positive feedback. But again, some of the user aspects. So as you're deploying any new technology, right? So as very best guess of, get to this step, you'll have customer feedback that says, hey, it would be easier if this would happen or that would happen. But to Lori's point, we use an MVP approach, right? So as we think about our agile methods, we're really looking at not only as we deploy, but the customer feedback is really driving us towards, hey, how do we make a better end-to-end experience? How do we make sure that it's seamless for them? And, so if they submit a photo, for example, but the photo size is too big or too small, that could cause a bit of, disruption to them. And how do we make sure that we quickly address that and move on? So those are some of the pain points that could come up, but I think that the MVP and agile type approach allows us to quickly address those things and get back to, making it a great experience.
That's a really good point. I think sometimes it's easy to forget how many transactions happen on a daily, weekly basis, and how many opportunities you have as an insurance company to understand what's working well and what isn't. And I know we all work in a world where we want to get things right because of regulatory pressures and so forth. But if you can really listen to your customers, they can help you shape this in a way that works for both you and the customer. So I really like what you're saying there. Mike, you shared something earlier about reminding yourself that we may not always know what the customer wants. So how do you factor changing consumer preferences and identify them to influence the future claim process?
It's a great question. I think a couple of things. I think you really want to have some infrastructure that gives you that 360-degree feedback, and figure out ways or strategies that allow you to make a change, get the feedback quickly, and then make your adjustments. I don't think 90 days used to seem like a long time, or 6 months, and it really just isn't anymore. And I think you really want to get the opportunity to adjust for your customers as quickly as possible. So I think there was probably a time in our business where where your CSAT scored regardless of what you measured, but the number was important, and the slope of the line associated to that number was important. And I think what we all know today is that customer feedback, what they tell us, is really the gold, right? Because it gives us something to create a conversation with them, but it also helps us understand them in the old way, when we talk to every customer. And when we're not doing that anymore, that feedback becomes even more important, because you're just not going to be able to adjust and respond based on what your adjusters might hear anymore, because there's a growing silent number of customers who we don't know what their experience was necessarily. And even if we ask, we don't have context for what their response is, because we don't know who they are.
Yeah, great points. No question. Bill, I know you're passionate about measuring and monitoring how automation is performing. And I think that's really important here, because it's one thing to do it, but then how is it coming together? So share some thoughts, if you would, on best ways to measure automation and empathy.
Yes, thanks, Alan. I think we have a slide here that might help as well. We can bring that up. But yeah, so I have had the good fortune of working, there we go. I've had the good fortune of working on a number of projects over the years to innovate, automate, improve the claims process. Each time I've been involved in these projects, one of the early ones I was involved in was, for example, was photo estimating, virtual claims handling. In the early days, getting started with this with a company that really pioneered that, you know, we thought it was the right thing to do. We really were encouraged by what we saw in terms of the technology, but the challenge was, how do you measure that? How do you know whether this is working or not? And some of the measures that I had available at the time were not available, like, you know, every month. It might be available quarterly or once a year. And so that was sometimes a struggle. Now, what we've been doing, my team has been working on here at LexisNexis is helping carriers. We talked a moment ago about the road to touchless claims. As you're trying to make this move to a more automated process, how can you innovate with confidence? How can you be sure that that move is working? So this particular slide, this is just 3 of the measures we've created to help with the journey. There are others, but one obviously is, we're talking about empathy today, but you always want to know, is this, whatever you're doing different, is it going to be at least the same severity level, or is it going to improve performance? So you need that, and you need that pretty quick. Like with when I went to the virtual estimating, you know, the first question everybody asked me is, are we going to see much higher claim payments? Are we going to have more errors in our claims? And so those are the kind of things you always want to check on. So in this particular slide, under the severity trends, there's a visual there. What that visual actually represents, the blue line are companies that are the 4s. Right now we don't have a 5, so the 4s in terms of data sophistication, bringing real-time data in. We're able to show how they compare to the industry, and the little gray shaded area in the middle is when these changes took place, comparing the highly, like, level 4 data sophisticated companies to the industry. So that's a good measure. But you want to, as we're talking about empathy, you really want to understand what the impact is to the customer. So these maybe should have been in different orders, but for the customer side, there's 2 that are very popular. One is the cycle time, to really understand is this claim getting processed faster? Faster doesn't always mean better, as we all know, but one of the good metrics is, are we getting to the customer faster? Are we paying them faster? That's a kind of an indicator that we're doing something better. So we track that, and then on the far right, we find that you know, after a claim, it's a, you know, the claim is the moment of truth, as was mentioned earlier. So post the claim event, you know, a lot of our customers want to know, is my customer, are they sticking with me after that accident, or are they leaving or shopping? Now, customers might know their retention, but what Lexis has created is a way for us to see the shopping. So maybe Bill had a claim. Did he shop more or less than the average person after having a claim? And that's an indicator that would help to the carrier. For me, for example, when I did this project with virtual claims handling, would have loved to have had this at a market level where I started with virtual claims, to be able to watch this for a little while and say, is this, and segment my virtual claims to be able to see, is the virtual experience positive or negative, or just flat? So I guess in summary, I would say it's really important in moving down this path. Someone mentioned earlier how, you know, almost like you need to sort of leap some things because there's technology is changing so quickly. Do you want to take it one step at a time, or do you want to sort of leap to the front? Whatever type of change that you're going to make to improve the process, it's really important to have those metrics and have them available, you know, as real time as you can get them, in order to understand if you need to make tweaks with that process, or if that process indeed is not giving you the desired result. So I think measuring is important with our journey to automation.
Absolutely. All right, so we have a bunch of questions, and I want to get to as many of these as possible. So if everybody on the panel could go to a lightning round here, got about 15 minutes for the total presentation. So we're going to go real quick through these and try to get some quick feedback. So let's start with Sam. The first question here, how do you address the generational gap when it comes to texting and claim communication?
That's a really, really great question, and something I'm extremely passionate about. So I think generational differences are going to occur with every part of text, not just texting. So I'll go back to what I said previously, which is we're all about giving our customers choice, right? So as they want to interact with us, the way that we address it really is, hey, if you want to talk to a claims professional, we're happy to talk to you, right, in person. So we're looking at technology not as forcing any customer segment through to it. We're really looking at it as a choice and an option should they want to engage with us that way. And we believe that doing it that way will really focus on exceeding our customers' expectations because they are changing. So that's a quick and short answer on that.
No, that's great. Choice would solve some of that. Lori, maybe how do you think about the use of implementation of computer vision tech to adjudicate claims and reduce payment cycle times?
I think it absolutely can be employed.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lori.
Yeah, I think it absolutely can be employed. We are communicating with our customers through a variety of different media. We're getting photos, we're getting videos, we're getting different types of media that we're able to process, some of it straight through and automate. So I absolutely think it has use. And as I mentioned before, we just implemented bidirectional texting. And in fact, we just implemented it this past Monday. And to see the customer response and customers sending us back emojis and even at first contact, really impressive results and great feedback. Customers at all ages want to text with us is what we're seeing in just the preliminary data. So we're really excited, and I think we can absolutely use those different channels to process, whether it be payments, whether it be other evaluations, letters, forms, totally open to that.
Thank you. And Mike, here, this one comes up a lot. I'm going to combine a couple of them together. As the industry has gone more touchless and customer-centric, what types of controls are you seeing put in place to avoid claim leakage and fraud?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, so add to that the fact that our employees demand more flexibility in a really competitive marketplace. So now brick and mortar is in a lot of cases optional. I can tell you that in my organization, if you're performing well, virtually everybody can work a couple of days a week from home. So the controls not only need to be in place to ensure that we're helping our employees be successful, but thinking about those new strategies. And I think, we're looking at new options and opportunities and data strategies to help us in the fraud front. I don't think you can, some of the old models will work great, but some of them won't. Photo estimating is a great area, right? So, if you don't have capabilities around understanding where and when a photo was taken, for example, pretty easy example, but you're gonna be in trouble. And I think for our people, there's probably some people on the phone who have been doing this a long time, and so many of us learned by being in the office and working with people. But I do think it becomes a little bit more data driven. You have to find and develop a set of KPIs that will drive you to either customer moments of truth or key claim activity kind of toll gates that can give you a holistic view of whether or not on balance you're creating great experiences for your customers. And then when you find those, then you've got to take that old school view of now we have to get in and help our folks figure this out, correct what they're doing, or just coach them up and make them better.
Right. Good perspective. So it's an age-old problem we face in claims all the time. How do you give great service, but at the same time control loss, cost, and avoid fraud? So good points. Bill, I think this question here is how ahead are personal lines carriers versus commercial lines? So I know you have a good industry view, and I think this is relative to automating. So how far ahead is personal lines above commercial maybe?
Yes, I would say that personal lines is quite a bit ahead of the commercial lines in some of the claims automation space, and it probably makes sense. You know, with the personal lines, you have the consumer, you know, the vehicle owner who's engaging in the claims process, and on the commercial line, you're probably dealing with a business who may have a fleet of vehicles, and it's just kind of a different process. But I think what I find is that oftentimes processes begin in auto and then they move to other lines of business. So for example, the virtual claims process, while that's been in auto for a while, we see that in home claims now, growing more and more. I think that I haven't seen that too much in commercial, but I anticipate that coming into the commercial space. And then, you know, when it comes to claims, trying to bring in data at a time of accident, the commercial claim is very, very similar in many ways to the personal lines, particularly if it's auto involved. That the same data that would benefit the auto carrier and auto customer would benefit commercial. And so, and I think one of the things I always sort of try to point to as I'm looking at how to address the customer experience and these changes is how do we create, and I know it's difficult, how do we create a zero friction customer experience, right? So in the auto, we're trying to do that with, you know, virtual estimating and this real-time data. But I see that being something that should be the goal for all lines, including commercial and home and other lines as well.
Hey, Bill, it's Mike. Do you ever think that commercial lines will catch up? Because you think about the size of commercial auto versus the P&C world, and then how highly distributed it is amongst carriers. You know, the top 10 don't own that huge percentage of the business. It's a smaller percentage. So it becomes a relative investment challenge, I think, for most carriers. So I do think you're right about trying to fast follow where innovation happens elsewhere. But I do think it's a lagging problem with no easy solution.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mike. And I think what I see on the commercial side, you're right. A lot of times the focus is around the workers' comp side of the business, which there is things to automate there as well. But you're right. The auto is just kind of a lower priority because it's not where the largest chunk of their spend is at. But yeah, I think where this probably starts are carriers that use their same, you know, claim system across their personal lines as well as their commercial business. And I think that's where, as they begin to design their solutions, some of the learnings from auto could be, you know, could help on the commercial side, maybe at least on things like claim intake and things like that. Great point.
I think it's important to distinguish that not all commercial is the same. You know, small commercial behaves a little bit more like personal lines compared to middle market and upstream, but you know, pick your point. There's probably a different solution for each. Sam, maybe you could talk a little bit about and share some of the strategies that you're using to accelerate claims innovation and encourage more change, more of a change management culture.
Yeah, that's great. So for us, change management is at the core of everything that we do as we're deploying new technology to make sure that our claims employees and our customers are constantly, you know, kind of in that virtuous loop. So the things that we're really looking and kind of doubling down on are using an agile approach to test new and different emerging technologies, right? So, you know, things that we're really kind of doubling down are things like virtual reality. So we began implementing virtual reality training processes in 2018. And this year, we're actually committed to looking at a virtual human model, right? So as we talk about displaying empathy, we're actually finding that there are different and emerging technologies that will help us kind of push the envelope to really look at empathy and how we're delivering that great customer experience through our claims process differently. So we have a really strong path there. And again, it's the trial, learn, fail fast, get customer feedback and continue to kind of push and leverage, as well as our goal to continue to, go digital and just explore different areas of choice and opportunity for our customers and our employees. And then I would just say lastly, we're always committed to our claims associates and making sure that we are constantly delivering, new and different skill sets for them and options for learning. So heavy investment in our training to make sure that we're thinking about claims of the future, all right? And claims of the future is obviously probably very similar to claims of today in some sense, which is surrounded by really caring, empathetic, knowledgeable employees, and how we're preparing them for change in the future as we are deploying technology.
Well said. And Lori, one quick one here for you, and then maybe we can end on having Mike comment about tomorrow's workforce. But how important is it to have a dedicated person or team at a company whose job is solely to focus on continuous improvement?
I think it's really important. I lead our claims technology team, and we have claim technology consultants, we have business analysts, and they come from the line of business. They can really speak and represent our different leaders and areas, and we really feel like we understand the voice of the customer, which are our internal customers. I think it's really impactful to have someone that can work in partnership with IT and other areas to deliver solutions and best-in-class tools that resonate with the end user. Because when there's friction with the tools for your claim user, you're going to translate that to the customer. So I strongly believe that you need that kind of linkage and that kind of insight.
Excellent. And then Mike, I'm going to put you on the real hot spot here and ask you if you could, in 2 minutes or less, give us your perspective on all of these changes relative to the adjuster or the employees, because we often talk about the customer, but we recognize adjusters in the future are just as important as they are today, just maybe differently. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, thanks. I do think that I actually think they're more important because I feel like and I'm not sure if it was Lori or Sam had mentioned AI and some other things. I feel like a lot of the transactional work on getting to the decision point will be automated in the future. Some of it's being automated now, and we're all witnessing and experiencing that. So I feel like in the future, our adjusters are going to need to be two things. I think the two kind of defining qualities will be kind of critical thinking, problem solver, decision maker, and the other one will be customer advocate ambassador for the company. Because I think you're going to be able to handle a lot more claims, but I think every claim is going to require, it's going to be potentially exhausting because you're going to be making decisions. And if you compound that with raising the base level of complexity on every claim, I think being a claims professional is going to be super challenging, but super rewarding. Because some of the things that drive people crazy today and burn you out will be the stuff that you're just not doing anymore.
Yeah, couldn't say it better. And I think it's an exciting time in which we need to do more to promote those thoughts, especially in the hiring areas where in a role in claims of the future is a really exciting place to be. And just being able to leverage technology and work with how automation will come together is pretty exciting. I want to do two more important things before we let everyone go here today. And the first one, I want to remind our audience that the Connected Claims USA Summit is happening June 24th through 25th in Chicago. So it's each one of the folks here today that you heard from will be attending and speaking at that conference. So if you're as high on them as I am, you'll be attending, and I hope to see many of you there. So the other thing I want to do is thank the panel. It's a really outstanding lineup of professionals, and I think they gave you a pretty good glimpse of what they're thinking. And I couldn't be more excited to be with such a great group of people today. So thank them for that. And for our audience, thank you so much for the questions. I apologize that we could not get to all of them, but they were really insightful, and I hope you get the most from this session today. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Alan. Take care.
Thank you all.
Thank you.